Okay, may the odds be ever in your favor. We're playing a super fun game today, and we're calling it Fact or Myth with writer and mythbuster Corey Levitan. And we want y'all to play along. He'll ask us questions like, who was Whiskey Pete, and did he actually get buried standing up? Did they really drain the pool at the Frontier Casino after Dorothy Dandridge dipped her toe in? Today on CityCast Las Vegas, we're going to dig into some of the myths around our casinos and talk about what makes a good Las Vegas myth. It's Tuesday, June 27th. I'm Vogue Robinson, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. Hi, David. Hi, Corey. Welcome to CityCast Las Vegas.
Hey there.
Hi, Vogue. How are you?
Awesome.
Pleasure to meet you guys. I listen to you guys all the time. I've listened to every episode.
Thank you. That makes me happy. Okay, so you're going to lead us in a game show here. It's going to be myself versus David, and we're going to try to figure out which of your stories are fact or fiction. So we'll let you take it away with myth number one.
I'm going to call this fact or myth. So you guys have to buzz in with fact or myth.
All right.
I was not given a buzzer. I just wanted to point that out right now.
You have to go.
I'll figure it out. All right, go ahead. Number one, Corey.
Fact or myth? Casinos pump extra oxygen onto their floors.
Myth.
Ooh, myth.
You're both correct.
Yay.
Look at that.
Where did that come from?
Although you hear that a lot. You hear that a lot, that they're pumping it with oxygen to get your brain going in overtime to make you all slapdash happy to keep gambling.
Came from a Mario Puzo novel from 1978 called Fools Die, in which the lead character was a casino owner and he ordered more oxygen into the casino. The problem with that is that would be a little bit of a fire hazard, wouldn't it? Oxygen is an accelerant, which would violate all fire insurance policies.
Plus, everyone's smoking inside, so poof.
All right, next, number two. You're both tied, 1-1.
Good job, Vogue, by the way.
Good job, both of you. Fact or myth? Charles Manson and his followers once mugged for the camera in front of the Binion's $1 million display. Go.
True.
True. That is true.
You're both correct. Very good.
Oh, yay.
Your score's still tied.
50-50.
And having read casino.org, I kind of cheated on that one.
David.
I didn't know it was coming, but I will tell you this, that no one has seen that photo because the FBI will not release it.
Scott Robin has filed a Freedom of Information Act and they've denied it. Yeah, absolutely. Fact or myth? One of the girls immortalized on the old Crazy Girl statue, which is now in storage at Planet Hollywood, was dancer Jonna Steele, who was transgender. Fact or myth?
Myth.
No ifs, ands, or buts. She was very famous as a showgirl, and I do believe she performed at the Riv. I don't know if she was in Crazy Girls to my recollection, but I'm going to say it's true. We're going to go different on this one, Vogue. I'm going to say John is on no ifs, ands, or buts.
Vogue is ahead.
Points for me. Points for me.
You win. Real showgirl, though. That was a real showgirl.
She was in she was in Crazy Girls, but that was an actual cast, a bronze casting, and she had been fired by the director before that cast was made. She was fired after a current affair outed her as transgender. Very horrible thing.
Yeah, and in fact, wasn't she Showgirl of the Year?
She was. The RJ named her, the Best of Las Vegas named her sexiest showgirl. Absolutely true.
It was a different time when people were perhaps more prejudiced, and maybe that's coming back again. I don't know, but poor Jonna. I understand she did not have a good ending either.
She did not. We'll put it that way and let you go Google it yourself and cry. Okay, number 4. Fact or myth? Whiskey Pete of the famous Whiskey Pete's was buried standing up facing Highway 91, which of course became Las Vegas Boulevard 15. Was he buried standing up facing Highway 91 according to his wishes?
Whiskey Pete.
False.
I'm going to call that a myth, too.
You're both correct. I found the guy who located his coffin by accident in 1994 and reburied him. He was not buried standing up. nor was he reburied in one of his bootlegging caves across Highway 91. He was reburied exactly where they found him. Vogue, you're ahead by 1. Number 5.
So I think. Wait, no, you can't go on because you just said that somebody stumbled across his burial space by accident.
And not everybody knows who Whiskey Pete is. I mean, if you've been through State Line, maybe, but who is Whiskey Pete, Corey?
Whiskey Pete was this amazingly big asshole who was a bootlegger and got busted so many times that he opened up a gas station to go straight. Well, he opened up a gas station on this road that nobody took, which now is the 15. But back then it wasn't the 15. And in order to make ends meet selling the gasoline to nobody, he resorted to his old ways of bootlegging. And he had a habit of shooting people who came in the gas station.
Oh, Whiskey Pete.
What?
He shot like 3 people who came in for no reason at all. 'Cause he thought they insulted him. They came in either looking for booze that he was pretending he didn't have. He was drunk all the time. Basically, he shot people for no reason at all. And so now they named the hotel after him. No, it was Whiskey Pete's gas station. That was what was the famous thing. And then the guy in the 60s who inherited it decided to build a hotel. But that everybody knew that as Whiskey Pete, so that's why he named it. So he didn't even. I don't think he necessarily even knew who Whiskey Pete was, but he wasn't.
Well, I think he knows because legend has it, myth has it, Corey, that he still haunts the old Whiskey Pete casino himself.
I don't get into any of those haunting things. Because
those aren't. You can't myth or no myth on the haunting because who knows?
Because there's no knowledge. It's like Area 51. It's like if there's no knowledge, that means that the people with the conspiracies don't have any knowledge either.
Hmm.
And that's down in State Line that people also refer to as Prim, right?
No, it's called Prim now. They changed the name because there's
it was like Prim is
there's
Prim.
another state. No. It was called State Line until I believe 1996 or so. Because there's a State Line by Reno. Fact or myth? Number 5. Vogue, you are ahead. Fact or myth? The Frontier drained its pool because black singer Dorothy Dandridge dipped her toe in it.
True. Fact.
I've heard this story with so many different entertainers, including Sammy Davis Jr. I don't think anyone ever actually drained it. I know that there was rampant racism. I know that black entertainers were treated extraordinarily poorly during the heyday of the strip, but I'm going to say that one's a myth too.
That is a myth. It was perpetuated by the 1999 HBO series starring Halle Berry. What happened, according to her manager, was that they threatened to drain it, but it never happened. So Hollywood drained it. Anyway, you guys are tied. Wow, we got a game. Woo!
Whoa.
Number 6.
I was worried because I kind of overthought myself with the whole Janice Steele thing. I knew too much, so I got the wrong answer.
Fact or myth? The founder and CEO of FedEx saved his company by gambling in Las Vegas.
Oh.
Huh.
The whole company?
The whole freaking company.
It's so funny. I've never heard any of these myths, you guys.
Not even the oxygen getting pumped into casinos?
Only from you. I've heard the oxygen one from you, and then I've seen the Dorothy Dandridge movie. So there's no facts in that. Or like that one didn't provide me all the facts, clearly. FedEx gambling. Sure. True.
Okay, David?
I'm sure that there's thousands of stories of companies that were lost in Las Vegas. I like that there's one that was saved. So I'm going to go with Vogue that is the one time that somebody who needed to save their company came to Vegas, put it all on red, and now we have FedEx. So I'm going to go true too.
You're both correct, and you're both tied.
Hey!
The owner, the guy who started FedEx, he bet his last $5,000 and won $27,000 while gambling on blackjack, and he paid for the company's $24,000 fuel bill, which would have caused him to go bankrupt if he didn't get the money.
Now, did he have that $5,000 delivered to him by a truck and a courier?
Number 7, scores tied.
Oh, this is the tiebreaker because we're even, Vogue. This was not planned.
Fact or myth? A Vegas Chips potato chip truck that was a brand of potato chips was robbed by crooks who thought it contained casino chips. They beat the driver up, took all the money he had, which was $680. Fact or myth?
I've heard this story. I don't know if it's a myth or not, Vogue, but I have heard this story off repeated.
I'm going to say that's a myth because I'm concerned with stupidity.
All right. I have no idea. I love it, though. And just so we don't have to have another tiebreaker, I'm going to go all in like the FedEx
I
guy
hate you.
on truth.
Congratulations, Vogue.
Yes!
It was kind of true for a while, but then the cops figured out that the driver made up the story.
Oh, so the driver actually got robbed. So there's like a piece of truth
The driver
inside
didn't
of
get
it.
robbed. The driver didn't get
Or rather,
robbed.
he made himself look like he got robbed. The money disappeared.
He made up the story.
Oh,
The money disappeared.
I feel like that one is in itself a push, but I'm going to give it to you, Vogue. You deserve it. You deserve
I do
it.
deserve it because I won. So this guy's like, how do I figure out? Wow. Because it sounds like, there's the scenes from Family Guy where Peter Griffin's trying to lie about his name. And it's like P. Tier Griffin. So I think he just looked around and was like, okay, Las Vegas chips. And somebody thought that it was real poker chips inside. And that's how that's how I was robbed. Look at my face. And he did beat him, apparently injured himself.
So Mr. Figler, who is Gen X and has lived here his whole life and knows everything,
Mhm.
has lost to Vogue. Vogue, how long have you lived in Vegas?
I am a decade in.
But she has the benefit of all my stories.
Do
so
I?
I feel like she's robbed me of my knowledge and added on her own, and that's why she's so much better a human than I am.
Look at you trying to take credit for my sensibilities.
Yeah, 100%.
Bless your heart. I won, and thank you for playing.
I wish I had a prize.
The prize is, I've learned a few new things, and how little David knows. So, David, did anything?
Wait, we got most of those right together. There's only a couple that we diverged.
David, were you surprised by any of your wrongo answers?
Was I surprised? I wished that it was, I think, John of Steele's butt on that. I'm wondering there's a lot of mythology surrounding that statue. Do you know the statue that we're talking about, Vogue?
No clue.
So they made a bronze statue representation of a number of showgirls sort of interlocked from the backside. And it was part of this no if, ands, or buts campaign that the Riviera Hotel was doing for the Crazy Girls show. And believe it or not, Vogue, they had this mounted outside the front of the Riviera, and people would rub the bronze butts for luck. That was a whole thing. But then, of course, the Riviera went through a number of changes, and now, of course, the Riviera is gone. So I don't know where that bronze, I don't want to call it a bust, statue is.
Caesars has it in storage at Planet Hollywood.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
I was kind of surprised on the Dorothy Dandridge myth busting because normally I remember those things. Like I'll watch director's cuts of things to be like, okay, what part of this is true and, based on a true story. And I feel like that's one of the films where early in the game I was like, what do you mean they're not telling me the whole truth? It's like cheese food, cheese product based on a true story. So I feel like, racism was already so horrible that it doesn't require any type of exaggeration. It made for an interesting scene, but
Vegas's history of racism is horrible.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that they still don't talk about. Like, for instance, Elvis's debut at the Frontier in 1956 was to a segregated crowd.
yeah.
Because all crowds were segregated until 1960.
Really late. Yeah. Whenever Hollywood tries to depict Vegas, they do tap into those myths. I mean, they take their liberties, but I think Las Vegas as an entity encourages it. The more myth, the more exciting being in this place is. And, spectacle is our currency in a lot of ways.
Deep dislike.
Yeah, well, yeah, if they don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. I'm a journalist. Fuck that. That's not what I believe in.
So,
Nice.
Corey, what do you think what are the key ingredients of a good myth?
A good myth has details. A good myth is like a joke. The stuff that a comedian says on stage, you're not holding them to the truth. Rodney Dangerfield's "My wife this, my wife that." He was like a widower for all those years when he was saying, "My wife's so fat." Anyway, you don't hold them to the same scrutiny that you do to people who spread myths on the internet or however they spread them beforehand. It has to have details, like a good joke.
Mm-hmm.
So people, if it's vague, if like the Dorothy Dandridge story, and there were various versions, like Sammy Davis was one who they drained the pool because he dipped his toe in it. There were several other Harry Belafonte. There were other versions. If that shifts around and there are details, that's a good sign that it's not real. That there's something going on. That it's a game of telephone. That people love telling their friends things that they've never heard before, wild stories, and they get a little a boost to the ego if they've never heard that story. So it doesn't matter if it's true or not because it's a good story. That's how myths spread. And now anybody with 1699 can open up a Square Trade website and say whatever they want, and people don't know how to tell the difference between news, legacy news, and just junk.
I love that kind of in the context of like putting myths into a book. I love that it has to be, a solid story with like weird and random details and combining those things together.
Yeah.
I think it makes for good reads, but definitely, when it gets passed on as like 100% truth, there's nobody does any type of research. Well, then, of course, then it becomes dangerous. So cheers to good myths. And thank you, David and Corey, for this conversation.
It's been a pleasure.
That was fun.
Thank you for having me on.
Corey has written about more weird and wild Vegas surprises. Head to VegasMythsBusted.com to read them all. Before you go, a few things you should know. We know they keep talking about a train from LA to Vegas, but you know what I like the sound of? A train from here to Salt Lake City. It's still too early in the game to see if it'll happen. The Utah Department of Transportation has applied for $500,000 in federal dollars just to study the idea. We all know it's gonna be a long ride. Also, make sure you keep your metallic balloons weighed down. The foil balloons that folks love to use at parties can also be dangerous for the environment. Escape balloons can damage power lines, start fires, and even cause blackouts because they conduct electricity. A new law has passed banning helium-filled foil balloons unless they have a legit weight attached to them. That's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. What was your score? Did you get 7 out of 7? What are some wild myths you've heard about our city? Tell us on social media at CityCast Vegas or shoot us a text at 702-514-0719. If you enjoyed the show, go ahead and share this episode with all your friends, especially the ones who love a good tall tale. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Take care.
I'm calling Corey a super fan right now.
I steal ideas sometimes. I don't know if super fans would do that.
Nice. Super thief. I like it.
Take them. You could invite us on to like talk with you about the idea that you stole from our show. Like we'll come be guests. So let us know. We're down.
Cool.